JP, also known as the Royal Businessman, is a fighting game character from the Street Fighter series. He appears as one of the new characters in Street Fighter 6, where he serves as its main antagonist and the leader of a terrorist group known as Amnesia. He uses various aliases in his business dealings to conceal his illegal activities as a major criminal. JP is an elderly but well-built man. His primary outfit consists of orange pants with a matching jacket, along with a patterned short-sleeved shirt featuring a blue gem in the middle. While publicly appearing as the head of the non-governmental organization Terra Networks Partners, he exhibits immense cruelty and brutality during battles. This dual nature is evident in his fighting stance, where he conceals his psychic power behind his back, even in his drive impact move that starts with a white flash and transitions into a dark purple color. Unlike Bison, JP hides his true intentions and often ignores the fears of characters like Kimberly and Cammy, always focusing on his next moves even midair, staying a step ahead of anyone opposing him. He also shows a high level of indifference. Even when cornered, he expresses the insignificance of any conflict in the grand scheme of reality. While Bison revels in chaos and enjoys evil, JP's dark side is largely marked by extreme indifference, showing no concern for the pain he inflicts. Though he doesn't harbor resentment towards Shadaloo's fall, he seems to have some respect for Bison and his ambitions, partly driven by his desire to see the world through his own eyes and psychic strength. Despite his elegance, JP primarily obscures the more vital aspects of his personality, revealing them only when he has the upper hand in battle, displaying a villainous laugh, or when disregarding actual defeat, using profanity and expressing irritation at the opponent's courage. The concept of the character Bartitsu Fighter is inspired by his appearance in Sherlock Holmes stories, mistakenly referred to as Baritsu. The dramatic adaptations of Holmes' stories influenced the development team to create a character who fights using a stick. JP's voice and appearance may be inspired by the late British actor Christopher Lee, known for playing sophisticated and charming villains. His name and previous occupation as a successful financier with investment dealings may be partially inspired by JP. Morgan, an American financier and investment banker who dominated corporate finance on Wall Street during the Gilded Age. Initially antagonistic in their first encounter, JP tried to pose as a legitimate businessman while infiltrating ICE. To meet Ken privately, threatening to kill him if his master desired it. However, ICE recognized his face and learned that he was a former loyalist to Bison before Shadaloo's fall, the only member who willingly embraced the dictator's psychic powers unlike the current members of Neo Shadaloo. Upon discovering that ICE uses deadly kung fu play, JP immediately realizes she is a former feng shui engine student before leaving with a warning that resurrecting Shadaloo should be handled by feng shui engine. Initially, Ken and JP had a good relationship, with Ken praising him for establishing an information technology center that blends ancient Nashal traditions with modern technology. However, after learning that JP framed Ken and kidnapped Mel, Ken begins to hate JP, threatening to kill him if he harms his son. Framed by Nashal, he is believed to be a terrorist by a group called Amnesia. Still in hiding, he now works in a construction company, seeking to clear his name and put an end to JP's plans. JP's thoughts continue to haunt Ken after the incident. Kimberly seeks answers about her uncle's death at the hands of JP. Cammy. Both JP and Amnesia are Cammy's targets to get answers about the possibility of remaining Shadaloo. JP faces J. Avatar in the World Tour round, where he becomes the archenemy responsible for the tournament that caused the story events. Their first meeting leads JP to uncover a conspiracy by the Resistance to place a bomb on the tournament belt. JP later angers the Avatars by using that bomb to attempt to kill anyone else present, including themselves, Bosch and Bosch's sister Yua. Later, JP shares information about Bison with the Avatars while granting them psychic power. Bosch. JP is Bosch's main target, and Bosch is obsessed with power. Bosch wants to assassinate JP to end his influence on Nashal by any means necessary, even allowing his body modification by psycho power. When Bosch is in JP's presence, he can barely contain his intense anger. In the end, JP is responsible for Bosch's death using the same tool Bosch intended to use to assassinate him, exposing Bosch's friends and family to danger and forcing him to sacrifice himself for their safety. Little is known about JP and his organization. He served as the chief financial officer in Shadaloo before its collapse. During his time there, He was one of the few individuals who gained the ability to use psychic power. After its fall, he began conducting business under various aliases, such as a Russian named Johan Petrovic, or Johan, or a Frenchman named Jean-Philippe, often using the abbreviation JP. He moved between several organizations, developing infrastructure projects with multiple countries, only to cause chaos. Street Fighter 6. The head of an international non-governmental organization responsible for numerous successful investment projects, the man behind the current prosperity of Nashal. He has a beloved cat named Cybele. In reality, he is the leader of an international terrorist group known as Menisia, responsible for the incident that framed his former assistant, Ken Masters, in Nashal. In the first chapter, JP, known by the alias of a Russian man named Johan Petrovic, meets Ken and his assistant Kalima in the martial arts tournament arena in Nashal. Ken commends him for having a splendid place and establishing a nation's information technology that integrates ancient Nashal traditions with modern technology. As they leave the arena, Kalima informs him that some people in Nashal are not very happy with the tournament, and JP explains that political protesters were protesting against the government's policies. He asks Kalima to contact the security forces to arrange a route to avoid the protests. In the second chapter, JP asks Kalima about the whereabouts of Ken Masters, who has disappeared. Regardless, JP still wants to continue the press conference without him. He mentioned that after the conference, they would contact the security forces to find out if there is anything to locate Ken. During the press conference, a group of well-known hacker activists sends a message stating that Ken Masters is associated with terrorists, shocking everyone, including JP. Amid the chaos, JP notices a word and another person leaves the arena. In Chapter 3, JP informs Luke and his co-workers that while Ken is still missing, their top priority is to protect the residents of Nashal. Despite uncertainty about the accuracy of the information leaked by the organization, it provides an ideal pretext for other countries to intervene. To avoid an international crisis, the Nashal government issues two statements. The tournament will proceed tomorrow, and Ken Masters is involved with terrorists. After Luke offers to form a team of 3 to find and bring Ken, some concerns arise. Later, JP revives Ken and reveals how he found him, outlining his plan to frame the famous hero. Ken attempts to attack JP, who discloses that he kidnapped Ken's son, Mel. JP hands Ken a phone, stating that if he detonates the modified drones, Mel will be saved, but others may die. If Ken refuses, the drone under Mel's seat will explode. JP delivers a speech about how people worship various fantasies, including Nashal, wealth, and human connections. Love is just an illusion that saves people, and goodness is an illusion that kills them. JP believes their actions are right and justified by their fantasies. Afterward, he leaves, telling Ken he hopes he makes the right decision. In Chapter 4, JP arrives early at Vishal Mountain and discusses the tournament with an officer. Later, he discovers that Mel Masters has escaped, feeling disappointed as he reserved a VIP seat just for him. In the arena, JP addresses the audience, declaring the resurrection of Nashal's legendary kingdom in Vishal Mountain, revered as a sacred pillar by the people for thousands of years. He announces the opening of the tournament inside the ancient arena, with the first event being an exhibition match. Ken confronts JP, and Luke tries to stop the former champion. Luke advises Ken to step down, mocking him, which angers Ken. Kalima attempts to stop JP, blaming him for everything and insulting Nashal's sacred traditions. She tries to stab JP with a dagger, but he disarms her and stabs Kalima. JP tells her that her plan will fail, as the tournament will be cancelled due to the chaos. However, JP clarifies that he set up the most important bet, the fallen hero versus the young peacekeeping agent. JP congratulates Kalima as Nashal has become a nation of criminals, and as long as she stays in the spotlight, the country will be safe. He asserts that history, traditions, culture, and sacred celebrations are all for sale as content until the world tires of them, threatening Kalima that withdrawing halfway will be the end of everything. In an internal monologue, JP reveals that he hosted the tournament in Nashal as a front for his money laundering operation. He regrets that the tournament attracted many individuals seeking to exploit it for various reasons, noticing Kimberly spying on the arena. He questions her presence and threatens her. She responds by asking about her uncle, leading to a fight with JP. After Kimberly leaves, JP returns to his throne and links his hosting work to M. Bison's operation. He acknowledges that tournaments are an illogical means of world domination but finds them highly appealing. Something makes him burst into a fit of mad laughter. Capes without responding to her questions. Ken. Unanswered questions. JP appears as Ken's competitor in his arcade story. While working at the SIN construction site, Ken reflects on the situation JP put him in. In his thoughts, JP appears, mocking him and trying to lure him toward violence. However, these are just dark thoughts swirling in Ken's mind, fought against in the game. After JP disappears, Ken is left wondering if he's trying to kill JP or not. Many of his attacks are named after Slavic mythological gods and creatures.